So in this video, I'm going to show you how to close an in-ground pool. I made a video very similar last year and the year before. This one's a pretty basic, little smaller in-ground pool with a sand filter system. It's got multiple return jets, one skimmer, and one bottom floor drain. So let's get this thing closed up. Right now I'm by myself. My crew should be here in a little while, but I'm going to try to attempt to do most of this closing, if not the whole thing myself. So let's start on the pool side, what you need to do. So first comes first, we need to take the skimmer basket out. Already out, customer already did that. Make sure your basket's out, make sure your flapper's out, all that. Just acorns. We're gonna pull all the return jets. So we got one here. These just unscrew. I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna do pretty much everyone on this pool. This pool's got a lot of them. All right, so in this case, the front of the jet came off, but they threaded pieces in the wall. There's a special tool they make to take that off. So this right here is a little card that you can put in the return if it's stuck, and there's little notches on it. Should be able to pull it right out of the wall. Just like that. So I'm gonna go around and do the other ones, and we'll be right back. I'm not gonna bore you pulling all the jets out. Okay, so I got all the jets out. I'm gonna back up a little bit. So when we do pool closings, we do them usually as a 2 or 3 man team. We have different roles for each pool. So we'd have a guy, one role would be prepping the pool, and the other one would be prepping the filter system. So I'm kind of doing the role right now of prepping the pool. So getting the return jets out, we're gonna pull the ladder next, get all the cover anchors that you see in the deck here for the cover pulled up, ready to go. You get your cover over here. Skim the leaves out, all that kind of stuff. Basically getting the pool prepped, ready to go. And then someone else is gonna be over here at the filter system, prepping the filter system and getting that all situated, which I'm gonna do this next. So, but if this was us doing a closing as a team, we'd be, work on separate, parts of it. But I'll do this separately coming up in a few seconds. So stick with me. I'll show you how to winterize everything. We're gonna blow the lines out, what to take out for plugs, how to drain everything, all that kind of stuff. This system's just a pretty basic skimmer main drain, single speed Hayward super pump, sand filter, the multi-port valve, and we do have a heat pump. So we'll get all this blown out, all the lines blown out, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. So next up, I'm gonna take a 1/2-inch socket, and we're gonna pull this ladder out. This pool's only got 1 ladder, some have 2, some have a railing, but generally all the time, it's a 1/2-inch. So the bolt on the back here on the anchors, what you're gonna do is you're gonna loosen the bolt up. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so bear with me. Essentially loosen the bolt up as much as you can and wiggle and take the ladder right out. So I will be right back with you guys once I get this thing pulled right out. Okay, ladder's out. Last but not least, on the pool side, we get these anchors up. So we're gonna use a drill. You can also use the tool that comes with the cover. You wanna bring it up just a little bit, just enough for the spring to latch on. And we're gonna go around the whole pool. And we're gonna do this probably 40 something times. So I will be right back with you guys once I get these up. Like I said, if we had a crew here, I'm by myself, someone will be out here doing this. We can typically close a pool like this in about 15 to 20 minutes, give or take. So, but I'm by myself, obviously, so it's taking me a little bit longer. Okay, all the anchors are up. Let me go through some of the stuff you're gonna need real quick. We have our customers leave everything out for us. So we got the cover here in the bag. This is all the plugs. So some people are more organized than others. This is all the plugs for the returns, gizmo for the skimmer, and then I'm just putting all the returns and everything back in the box here for them. So this is what's called the gizmo. Basically this, as you see by the description, this goes in the skimmer. So not only does it act as a plug, it also keeps the skimmer from cracking. Works as like an ice equalizer. So that will be for the skimmer. And then plugs here, we have different sizes. We have number 8s, which are usually for 1.5 inches. We also have number 10s, I believe, which are also for 1.5 inches. 8's usually what we prefer. And I think that's it, 8s and 10s. So what we're gonna do is we're probably gonna use the 8s. I like the 8s better, they fit a lot better. You can also use threaded plugs. Got some in my box here. These work good as well. You just gotta make sure you get a good seal with these. A lot of times these don't seal all the way, so that's why I sometimes prefer the wing nut plugs. But there's different types of plugs that you can use. As long as you have threads and you get a good proper seal, the threaded will work. Obviously make sure with these that the O-ring's not dry rotted, and I would probably put some Teflon tape around there. This is a brand new one, so it's not taped up yet. There's all sorts of sizes. I keep some in my box just in case we need them, but they have the number on the bottom. Like I said, 8s and 10s are usually for 1.5 inches, which is 99% of vinyl liner pools. Some gunnites are bigger, but usually 8s and 10s are what we use on most of them. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna get all the number 8s that they have out and just double check them, make sure that there's no dry rot and like that. They all look good. So we're gonna need 4 of them, and we're gonna lay them out around the pool. One big thing I should mention is every single swimming pool is different. So you might be watching this video and you know, this pool is nothing like yours, and everything I'm doing might not work, you know, perfectly for closing your pool. You know, these plugs might be different, might not have threads, and etc. So we close about 300 to 350 pools per year, and honestly, every single one's different. It's very rare that, you know, we have 2 pools that are alike. So I know some of the closing videos on our channel here, there's different kind of situations. We have an in-ground gunite with a hot tub that we did last year that's on there. We have another very similar one with a sand filter, kind of step-by-step. This one's kind of the same. Sorry, I'm out of breath. By myself trying to get these done. We have 14 pool closings to do today, and trying to get as much done before the guys get here. So been running around the pool. But basically every pool is different, so you might not agree with what we're doing. That's fine. I get a lot of comments on all of our videos, you know, keyboard warriors, but we do this professionally. We do this, I've done probably 3,000 to 4,000 pool closings personally in my career. I've been doing this for now almost 18 years. So I've done this pool specifically probably for the last 7 or 8 years. So you don't agree with it, that's fine. But at the end of the day, as long as you get all the water out of the lines and get winterized properly, you can do whatever you need to do to get that, you know, goal achieved. So let's back up and get back to the pool here. I got my plugs laid out. The reason why I do this, 1, I'm also by myself, but 2, as we're blowing the lines out, we need to have the plugs ready to go. So, and we also need to know where all the returns and stuff are. So I got all the plugs laid out where they need to go, and the gizmo by the skimmer. So now pool's all set to go. We got to start blowing these lines out and getting the filter system figured out. So we'll be back to the pool in a few minutes. We got to drain some things over on the filter real quick, and we'll start blowing the lines out. As far as other tools you're going to need, this is a safety cover, so you are going to need the installation tool, which is basically a bar with a notch on it. Antifreeze, which this is kind of one of those things where it's good, but technically if you blow the lines out properly and you get a good seal, there is no water in the lines, you technically don't need antifreeze. And I know that sounds crazy and you're probably going to comment about that. We use it, but technically I know plenty of pool companies around here that don't use it. You technically do not need it if you close it properly. If there's no water in the plumbing and it's sealed and water can't get back in, you do not need antifreeze. But we use, it's specifically formulated for swimming pools, swimming pool antifreeze. So we got one of them, and we have our blower. This is a cyclone air blower. You can also use this for installing liners. We do have a pre-made lid. We have lids for pretty much every type of pump. So this is a Hayward Super Pump lid. Basically, it's got a return fitting with a connector for the hose. So I'll show you how this hooks up in a minute, but we have pretty much a lid for every single type of pool pump out there. This is something you're probably not going to have if you're doing this for yourself. So I can explain real quick on blowing the lines what you would do in that situation. That's where you're going to definitely need 2 hands. The reason why we have this connector is I can blow this pool out technically by myself if I needed to, so it makes it a lot easier. And then obviously just your basic tools, socket set, you know, some wrenches, channel locks, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go through my whole toolbox, but you do need a 12 socket or wrench to get the ladders out. You do need either the tool that comes with the cover or an Allen wrench to get the anchors up. It's never a bad idea to have some channel locks. You never know what you're gonna need them for, stuff like that. So let's go over the filter system. All right, so like I said, we have, and this might not be exactly your setup, you might not have a Hayward Super Pump. We're in New England, we're in Massachusetts. This is the most common pool pump we see. Personally, I hate these pumps. They're old school, they're single speed, they're non-energy efficient, but it's what we see on probably 80% of the pools up here. So good pump, it works, but there's a lot better options out there on the market these days, more efficient, you know, everything. So, but most pools in New England have this setup, especially older ones. So your pool might be completely different, but kind of the same concept. Every pool has the suction side, so you get your skimmer and main drain. You might have an extra skimmer, so you might have 3 pipes. You might have four lines coming. You might have a suction side on the wall, and this one's got 3 returns. You might have more, you might have less. You know, every single pool is different. Like I said, these videos are made to help, but I can't just, you know, I can't make a specific video for every specific pool. They're all different. So, but the general concept on a pool is you get your suction coming in, so the water coming into the pool, and then your return going out, and then you get your filter system. So basically, and that's a whole separate video. If you don't understand how a filter system works, you know, honestly, you shouldn't be closing your own pool, but you know, basically we have the suction side and the return side. So the concept here is we have to get all the water out of everything. So we got to drain the tank, we got to drain the pump, we got to blow all the water out of all of the pipes, out of every single one of these. So the skimmer, the drain, the heater, and every single return line. So we got to get all the water out, and we got to get it plugged at the pool. That's basically the concept of what we're doing. Some people will use a shop vac. I've never done that method and try to suck the water out or blow it. I've always used a professional cyclone blower. It has enough force, enough velocity to get these lines clear. Some people use an air compressor, which I would personally never use because you can't guarantee all the water coming out. You need something with force, and you'll see when I turn this blower on how powerful it is. This is made specifically for winterizing swimming pools. So if you're gonna do your own, this is probably about a $400 to $500 blower. Honestly, you buy one after the first season, it's basically, you know, you just saved the amount of money you pay for a pool closing. So it is worth it. But let me get going here. So first step here, I'm gonna take the drain plugs out of everything and drain it. Let's take the basket out first. So we're gonna open the basket up on this pump, and I'm gonna take it out. See, the O-ring here just fell off. What the heck is this thing? That's not even the right O-ring. Okay, no idea what that is. O-ring's actually right there. So I'm gonna take the basket out, clean it off real quick, get the leaves out, and I'm going to use the basket for a collection device for all the parts. So there's a little bit of crap still in there. I'll clean this out after, but basically I'm just going to use it for storage for the plugs so we don't lose anything. So these ones are twisties. You can just twist them off. The old plugs are, you need a flathead or a 9/16. I'm going to put everything in this basket for right now, or on the lid. I like putting it in the basket so you can't kick it. That way you don't lose everything. So we're going to pull the plugs on the pump. I'm going to leave the pressure gauge on the filter for now, just so I can get maximum velocity when I'm blowing the lines, but this is going to come off at the end and also go in there. We're going to take the sight glass off here, which I might not be able to get by hand because I'm one-handed. So we'll get this off in a second, and then we're going to take the drain cap off the filter, which is buried somewhere. Back there. So again, I'm probably gonna need 2 hands for this. So I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, next up, I'm gonna crack the bleeder on the filter so it starts dripping and draining. I'm gonna put the multi-put valve on closed, and I'll explain that in a second why. And I'm gonna hook this blower up. So like I said, we have pre-made lids. If you don't have this, I'll explain how to do it in a second, but with the lid, we can put the lid on and it's gonna blow air into the system and we don't have to sit here and hold it. So if you don't have this lid, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take the blower hose off and you have to hold it into the pipe. So that's where it gets a little confusing. Well, not confusing, but you need multiple sets of hands because you have to hold it and someone's gonna have to do all the plugging at the pool side. And you're also gonna have to find a way to blow the return lines. You can hold it usually through the back of the pump, but you might have to take a union off here or a union off the heater or somewhere to hold it in as well. So with this, I don't have to do this. I can just put it on and we can blow lines out literally with one person. So let's get this on and I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so we're all hooked up. So let me explain what I'm gonna do. So I put the multi-put valve on closed. So what we wanna do is we wanna force the air out the skimmer. So we're gonna do the skimmer first. So This is on closed, so the air can't go this way. It can only go one way. So we also have valves here for the drain and the skimmer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the skimmer line open and the main drain shut. So when I turn this blower on, what it's gonna do is it's gonna blow all the airflow out the skimmer, and it's gonna blow that specific line out. And I'm gonna do that right now. So it might get a little loud for a second. I'm gonna walk out to the pool once it starts blowing. I'll show you what it's doing out at the pool. So, ready? Oh, and I tripped the breaker, wonderful. All right, so out here at the pool, you're gonna see the skimmer shooting water everywhere. So typically what I would do is I'd use what's called a blow-through gizmo. So it's one of these gizmos with a hole in the top. So you can put it in, it just shoots the water right out and you're good. You can blow this out in about 15, 20 seconds. We also have a pipe that we use, which I think I have one in the truck. But basically we have a pipe, standpipe essentially. We screw into the threads, comes up and it elbows out. So instead of the water just gurgling straight up, it goes straight out into the pool. You can blow it out a lot faster. Where I am by myself, and I also don't feel like walking out to the truck right now, I'm just gonna let it go. It will eventually gurgle. You know, you're gonna have to let it go for a couple minutes, but all the water will eventually blow out into the pool and out of the skimmer. So as you can see, probably tough to see on camera, we still got water coming out. There's a lot of water still. The problem with this is a lot of it's gonna pool around here, so it's gonna take a little bit to clear this line, but that's fine. Like I said, if I had the other methods, I'd be able to show you, but by myself on this one, so a little tough. But most likely if you're doing this yourself, you wouldn't have the other methods anyways, so this is how you'd be doing it. So basically you just want to blow this until, you know, it's just mist or even just straight air. You can blow it for as long as you want. Longer the better, honestly. But you just want to get it so that it's basically just mist coming out or no water at all and just air. Now another trick you can do, you can, I don't know the correct terminology for this, but I call it either burping or bumping, where we have a valve, we can build some pressure and we can blow the skimmer out a little harder. So we can shut the valve, do that a few times, and basically what that's doing is it's creating pressure and it's forcing extra pressure out, and it clears it a little faster. So little tip. So this is almost clear. We'll let it blow for another 30 seconds. I'll shut it off and I'll show you how to plug it. Okay, so now that's clear, we'll obviously double check it. We're gonna dump in our antifreeze. We typically do 1 gallon per skimmer. That's complete overkill. Like I said, we technically do not need this, but I like to put it in the skimmer lines just in case the threads, you know, something fails and water gets in there, you know, you won't have any issues. So we only use antifreeze usually in the skimmers, unless, you know, requested separately by a customer. You know, some want it in the returns and stuff like that, but we rarely ever put it in the return lines. Like I said, you technically do not need it. So, but once you get the bottle in, you're gonna thread this gizmo in nice and tight. And just literally go till you got it hand tight, and then one good, really good crank. And then usually what I do is I'll put a little bit of antifreeze around it. And a lot of times I'm just gonna put the bottle in as well as like a secondary measure. I gotta find the cap. Let me put the cap. Gotta find the cap for it. So I like to leave, and a lot of pool companies will do this, they'll leave the empty bottle as well in the skimmer just for ice protection. I usually leave a little bit of antifreeze left in it. Let me just check this plug again. Put that in there. Put it upside down. So this way, the reason for this is if this is gonna fill up with water, you know, the water's gonna come up over the winter months from the cover, gonna fill up, and instead of ice freezing and cracking the skimmer, you know, not only do you get the gizmo down there, you also now have the bottle. So double ice protection. All right, let's do this drain. This one requires 2 hands, but I'm gonna do it by myself. So basically with the drain here, what we gotta do is we have to do what's called an airlock. So the skimmer's been done. I'm gonna shut that valve and I'm gonna open the drain. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna force the water out of the drain, and as it's blowing, basically it's like taking a straw and putting your thumb over the straw and putting the straw in water. That straw is airlocked, water can't get in. Same exact concept. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna blow this. As it's blowing, we're gonna shut this valve. So that's gonna basically act as your thumb. And what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna put a plug in the front of the pump. So that's like a secondary, just in case, you know, this doesn't seal all the way. and that'll be airlocked. So I know it's kind of confusing, but that's how we do it. So I am actually gonna put the basket back in, because once I put that plug in, you can't get the basket back in. So let me clean this basket off a little bit. Take these out. Tighten it up. Sometimes for this, if you're not getting full pressure, you might actually have to put the pump plugs back in to get full pressure. So we'll see what happens. So here we go. Tripping the breaker again. So this is probably not going to blow because it doesn't have enough pressure. See how nothing's happening? Oh, actually, no, there it goes. So if that didn't go, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put the pump plug back in, get full maximum pressure. So basically, once you get bubbles, the water's worked out of the line. So basically, you just, go till bubbles. I like to blow it a little extra. That line's so deep that it's pretty much not going to freeze, but I'll usually blow it for a minute or two. Technically, if you just, once you see bubbles, you can airlock it. So we'll let this blow for a minute or two, and then we'll airlock it. Okay, so that's been blowing for about a minute. Now I'm going to airlock this. I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Can't guarantee it. It's going to be a little loud, so we're going to shut that valve, kill the blower, open it up, and slam this plug in. So valve shut. You got to do this quick just in case it doesn't seal. Get that in and tighten it up. Yeah, it's loud today around here. We had that crow earlier, and now we have helicopters. So, a lot of times you don't need this, but a lot of times in a lot of pools we've closed, these valves don't seal all the way. So if you don't use a plug, listen to it with your ear. And if you hear hissing, this is not sealed. So that's why this plug's a backup. So this plug's literally like $2. So for $2, it helps seal your drain better, just in case. So, all right, that's all set. I'm gonna put the lid back on. Now we're gonna do the return lines. So since there's no valves on the return lines, we're gonna have to get a little creative here. So first off, we're gonna come over here, put this on recirculate. And what we want is we want the water, or the airflow to bypass the filter and just go through the pipes. So recirculate. I'm gonna turn this on. This is probably gonna trip the breaker. Turn it on. And we'll come over to the returns. So typically what happens when they're all connected like that, the closest one's gonna blow first. So this one, they all might start going. This might get a little confusing, so try to follow along here and I'll explain as best as I can. If you just let them all blow at the same time, you're not gonna get good pressure through them all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug 3 of them and leave 1 open. And what that's doing, that's forcing all of the water and air through one. So we'll do one at a time. We'll plug those 3, do this one first. Plug this one, open that one, and we're gonna go down the pool. So at all times, 3 of them will be plugged and 1 will be blowing. If there was valves and these were all in their own lines, we just shut the valves, we'd blow 1 at a time. The reason why I'm doing that is, as you see, this one's not even doing anything right now. That one and that one are getting the most pressure, and this one's barely gurgling. So if I was just to try to blow them all out together, you're not gonna get all the water out of the lines. So like I said, this is where it gets confusing. You should have valves on all your lines, but many pools we go to don't. So what I'm gonna do, I'll probably I usually start with the ones that are, the most pressure first. So I'm gonna plug this one, that one, and this one. We'll blow that one, and we're just gonna work our way around counterclockwise. So let's get these plugs in real quick. And you'll see as I'm plugging these, the force coming out of the ones that are open will be a lot faster and harder. So when I plug this one, I guarantee that one should probably start. If not, that one's just gonna get a lot more powerful. All right. So what I'm even gonna do here, just to get even more power, I'm gonna make sure the pump plugs are back in. I want as much pressure coming out of these as possible. All right, so I just put the pump plugs back in and this one instantly started bubbling. So I'm gonna leave this one open. This one's just been blowing probably now for 2 minutes. I'm gonna leave that one open. I'm gonna plug this one. This one should go full blast and then we'll go around the pool. So watch as I plug this one, what happens. So as I plug this one here, that one instantly starts going. So when you're putting these plugs in, what you want to do is you want to make sure you set them in as best as you can and get them as tight as you can. And what I like to do is I'll just wiggle it, make sure it's not going to come out. So now this one's going. We'll let this one go. I usually do about 1 minute to 2 minutes per line. And we'll go around the pool. So once this one's done for about 1 minute, 2 minutes, I'm going to pull that plug out. We'll plug this one. That one will blow. Same thing, 1-2 minutes, blow that one. We'll take that plug out, we'll plug that one, and then we'll plug the last one. That's where it gets a little interesting where I'm by myself. So typically you should be doing this with more than one person, but obviously I've done thousands of these and can do these by myself. With 2 people, it helps because you can have one person at the blower shutting it off or keeping the pressure cracked while you're plugging the last one. Where I'm by myself, I'm gonna have to find a way to crack the pressure so that, you know, when I put the last plug in, it doesn't blow out. If I don't crack the pressure somewhere, I'm gonna plug it and it's just gonna build pressure to shoot the plugs right out. So what I gotta do is I gotta crack the multi-port valve or pull the plugs out somewhere or somewhere over at the filter system to crack the pressure a little bit where I can plug it, if that makes any sense. So I know some of this stuff's going probably right over people's heads. I'm trying my best to keep this as simple as possible. It's kind of why I picked this pool to make this video. But like I said, every single pool is different. Every single situation is different. Every single equipment pad and a filter system is different. So every pool's not the same, but the concept is all the exact same. You need to get the water out of every single individual pipe on that pool. There's different ways to achieve that. There's different methods. I'm sure other pool guys do it differently than we do it. This is just how we do it. You know, we've done every single year at least 300 to 350 pool closings. We're literally in the last month we've done 160-ish already. So we're obviously professionals at this. You know, we do this for a living. So, but what we do, another company might do a little differently, but the same concept for every pool. You got to get the water out of the lines, get them plugged, and that's essentially winterizing a swimming pool. So it's been about 2 minutes now. Let's plug this one. Sorry. We'll plug this one and we'll open up this one. So before I plug that though, I do need to take the plug out of this one. All right, if I get a little water on here. When you're taking these plugs out, just be cautious because there is pressure. These might kind of pop at you. Let's get that plug out, get it loosened a little bit. And I'm gonna plug this guy up. So again, as I plug this one, that one should start blowing a lot harder. All right, this is tough to do one-handed, and I'm doing it lefty, and I'm a righty, so. All right, been about 2 minutes. We're gonna pull this plug that one. Another thing I just thought of, which I probably should have mentioned at the beginning of the video, is the water level for closing. I'm sure someone probably is going to comment about it, so let me explain. So when we close pools, technically the way we do it, you can do it multiple ways. You can leave the water fully in if you use blowout gizmos and whatever. You could drain it below the skimmer, which is what we recommend, or you can even drain it below the returns. I don't generally recommend that on a lot of pools just because what happens with that is some returns are lower than others. And if you drain it too low, it takes some of the pressure, especially on a vinyl. We have a lot of vinyl liner pools in New England. So the lower the water gets, the less pressure on the liner. And the bigger risk, especially in like corners if the liner is tight or older, the bigger risk for liners popping out of the track. I prefer, honestly, this is perfect. About 2 inches below the skimmer and the water over the returns. The reason why I like that is when I plug the returns, I can see and make sure they're sealed. If they're not sealed, you'd be seeing air bubbles coming from them. So where the water is up above them, you can check that. If the water was below, you can't. You can do it by, you know, hearing any hissing and stuff like that, but It's very tough to check a plug if the water's below. A lot of gunite pools will drain it below just for the tiles. And the reason why we even have people drain is mesh pool covers, like you're gonna see in a minute, let water through. So right now it's September, this pool's not gonna be open till May. That's what, 9 months or so, 8-9 months of sitting with rain coming down. This pool will fill up. Every pool that gets closed will fill up. So typically draining it down below the skimmer allows this pool to fill up over the off season. So by the time the spring comes, this pool's now full. Sometimes you even have to drain them over the off season. So that's kind of why we have our customers drain the pools. Technically, if you had a blowout gizmo, which I have some in the truck, and you had a way, there is ways to close these pools without draining the water at all. And I'm not showing that in this video specifically because I don't recommend it for a homeowner, but we have ways of closing a pool without draining it. The thing is, and a lot of people don't understand, even if you drain a pool, it is going to fill up over the off season. And if you don't keep up with draining it back down, you know, with rain and snow and ice melt and all that stuff, you know, it's just gonna keep filling. So there is really no point in, you know, draining it. I push our customers to drain it down so that it fills back up over the off-season months. It also will, you know, protect the liner and stuff like that. On gunite pools with tiles, it's a whole different story there. You definitely want to try to keep the water level below those tiles at all times, especially on older ones. You don't want that water level getting up to the tile line, especially if you have tiles that are starting to come off. Because if you get, you know, ice getting in there, it's going to expand, it's going to blow those tiles right off the wall. Same with like pool decks. This is obviously a brand new deck 2 years ago, I think. If you have your water level get up too high and it gets underneath the coping of the pool deck and freezes and cracks, it's going to destroy that coping. So on gunite pools, it's definitely a lot more important to drain it down, and that's why a lot of gunite pools will go below the return jets. I mean, it's as long as, like I said, as long as you get the water out, you blow it for long enough, and you have a good enough sufficient blower, you're fine. The other thing when you're draining it down below the jets is you can see how much water's coming out. Kind of like when I did the skimmer, you can see that it gets misty and you know that it's all out. But generally, you let it blow for a minute or two, all the water's out of these lines. So that's just the way we do it. I know everybody does it differently. Some pool companies make you drain it below the returns. Some don't drain it at all. Some have you go below the skimmer. It's all personal preference. So personally, with us, how I've always been taught is if you get it below the skimmer for us, we'll blow it out like we usually do, just like I'm doing here, and just monitor your water level over the winter. If it starts getting too high, put a pump in, drain it down, or call us. We'll do a winter service and do that for you, and you'll be good. And that way we can also check the plugs and all that, make sure it's sealed up. We have plenty of pools, trust me, we get to them and they're not prepped, and we have to blow it out with the water being high. We can obviously drain pools at closing, but we're on a time constraint with, you know, how many we have to do in such short time. So the reason why you don't see me with a pump and I have the customers drain is multiple reasons. Probably a story for another video, but basically, you know, one, we don't have the time. Two, there's a lot of houses we go to that we have nowhere to drain it. And three, it's more to force the customer to realize that they have to keep, you know, it's their pool. You have to have a pump at all times to keep up with the water level of the off season. I can't tell you how many people do not keep up with their pools over the off season. They should be. And this is a whole different rant for another video. But just because the pool cover's on doesn't mean you're done. You know, you have to maintain the water level underneath. You have to clean off the leaves off the cover. If you have a solid tarp style cover, you have to clean that cover and drain that cover off. So there's a lot of maintenance, and this is a whole separate topic. But it's kind of why we do the way we do it. You know, I'm sure I'll get comments, you know, whatever. So, but I've been doing this now 8 years as a company, and I've been doing this for 18 years professionally. So, company I used to work for is the biggest company in pretty much this area in Massachusetts. They close probably 2,000-3,000 pools a year, and this is exactly how they do it. So, like I said, everybody's got their own opinion, everybody's got their own way of doing it. At the end of the day, as long as all the water is out of these lines, they're plugged properly, you've successfully winterized your pool. So, all right, this thing's been blowing out for like 5 minutes. Let's get this plugged up. So, what I'm gonna have to do here, since this is the last line, is I'm gonna have to crack the pressure somewhere since I'm by myself. If I wasn't by myself, I'd be over here plugging it, someone would be over there shutting the blower off, but I'm by myself. So, we're gonna come over to the filter system and find somewhere we can crack the pressure. What I mean by that is just basically relieve the pressure so that all the pressure is not going out that jet anymore. It's not gonna cause water to go back in. As long as you get some airflow going out, it's still gonna hold the water out. But you're not gonna be able to plug it unless you do that. So what I'm gonna do a couple things. I'm gonna pull the plugs back out of the pump, and I'm gonna crack the multi-port valve and put it right in the center. So basically what that's doing now is you can see the backwash is blowing and you get airflow coming out of the front of the pump. So this is gonna allow me to put that plug in without it blowing out. Again, if you had a second set of hands, you wouldn't even have to worry about this. Just skip over this, but I'm by myself. All right. And again, you wanna make sure these are tight. You don't wanna just get them in loose. Make sure they're tight, wiggle them. And I usually just do another, double take, make sure there's no bubbles, so we're good. So last step over here is I wanna blow this heater out separately, just to be safe. I'm blowing the backwash out. Now this is sort of an extra step, but I just, you never know with these heaters. The water flow had to go through this heater and the airflow did too, but I usually like to crack these unions just to make sure there's no moisture in there, so. But that's really pretty much about it over here. So let's get this system all buttoned up for the winter. Now it's all blown out. I'm gonna take our blower lid off. Get this out of the way. I apologize, this whole video might be shaky. I'm doing this one-handed by myself, so. All right. So we got our basket in there. We're gonna put our plugs back in. No idea what that is. That actually looks like it's for the gasket that goes in between the housing. But I'll put that in there just in case. Your multi-port's gonna go on winter. If you don't have a winter setting, which this one doesn't, just put it in between two settings. That basically leaves the valve cracked and open. If there was a winter setting, just put on that. Thread this guy. What this is gonna do is essentially it's gonna just let this system air out. And that sight glass is stuck and it's one of the glass ones, but I'm gonna leave it because, I just like to take them off just so it airs out a little better, but you can leave it on. So all that stuff's in there. I'm gonna tighten this up for the winter. And we leave all the small plugs in the pump basket. Some companies do it differently, but kind of standard procedure from what I've seen is that all goes in here. That way you don't lose it and you know where it is in the spring. I took the chlorinator hoses off. This chlorinator still has some water in it, and I'm going to assume it's heavily chlorinated, so I'm going to deal with that in a minute. But the hoses are off. I got the unions cracked in the heater. I usually leave them cracked so any residual moisture will dry out. I usually leave the bleeder valve cracked. The plug's out of this, so all the sand's going to dry out over the winter. We're going to come over to the timer here, make sure that's off. If you had a variable speed pump or automated pump, you're going to want to make sure all the settings on the pump and all the timers are off, and the power's off. So I'm also going to shut the breakers off as well, so that kills all the power. So that's all set. If you had a salt system, make sure that's off. Make sure everything's off so it can't turn back on. And then that's really about it. I'll wrap up the backwash hose for them. But that's pretty much about it over here. Pretty fairly straightforward. So the whole concept, like I said, getting all the water out of all the lines, out of everything on the filter system, getting everything drained, and getting it empty, so that way over the winter months the water's not in there, won't freeze and crack. So that's the whole concept of what we just did. I did blow the backwash line out. Some pools have a hard pipe backwash, going out to the woods or something. Not a bad idea to blow that as well. I'm gonna shut this heater on off. But try to do this one-handed. We'll kill the power to the heater if I can get it. All right, I have to get that with two hands. We'll kill that. So next up, we got to get this cover put on. And I'm just going to wait till my guys get here to help me, because it's not a big cover, but it's a lot easier with more than one person. Well, I'm not going to wait for the guys. I'm going to try to get this thing on myself. So I got it all laid out. So the step cutout's right here. I basically got to drag it over the pool. So it is definitely easier with two guys, one on each side, to drag it over. But I mean, by the time they get here, I can have this thing on. So I just sent them to the next one, which is down the street. So I'm going to just drag. Usually I find a corner and we'll just drag it over. Some of this is going to fall in the pool, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm by myself. Got to be careful you don't get it caught. This is an older cover. These older covers like to get caught and snagged. So the way I like to do covers, like I said, I'm by myself, but we'll drag it over so one side's pretty much laying over the deck. there's two guys, this would be a lot easier. So it probably isn't the best example to be showing in a video, but if there's two guys, we'd have this cover laid out. One guy would go down, put them all on my hand. The other guy would go down with the bar and put them all on. We'd be out of here in 5 minutes. So this is gonna take me a little bit longer, but I will tack the corners off. And then I'm gonna go down this side and just tack off all of them by hand, or at least every other one. This will hold the cover up. So when I pull the other side over, it won't drip in the pool too much. All right. Try to do this one-handed, but can't promise it. So now I'm gonna try to tack the corners off, especially on this side. This is where your bar comes in handy. You put your bar through your loop. This is an older cover. I've seen much better days. I'm actually trying to push them to get a new cover the last couple of years. All right, I gotta put the phone down. Okay, so what I just did, I went and just laid this cover out so it's a lot easier to show. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around with the bar and I'm gonna put all of these springs on their proper anchors. So how these bars work is you put the bar through, there's a notch, you're gonna take the notch and put it on the back and you're gonna pry it down. So basically like this, try and do this one-handed. Oh, look who decides to show up. I just told them we were all set. And then I'm gonna step on it. So, funny they decided to show up now, but I'll let them do the rest. Thanks for the help. All right, so what we're gonna do now, cover's on. This cover needs to be replaced, and we were already talking to the customer about replacing it, but there's a big giant tear here. The strap's starting to go, there's rips over there, so we're gonna have to get them another cover. This cover's no longer a safety cover, but besides the point, everything's tight. We'll go around, we'll just double check everything, make sure it's tight, which we look good, but I usually do a final walk around of every single one of these and make sure they're all on, like this one popped off. We'll put that on real quick. Sometimes they'll pop off when you're tightening the opposite side. So I'll get that on. And I think that was the only one. So that's that. So now we're gonna go up the street and close one of the neighbors' pools, and we got about 5 more in the neighborhood next to this one. So probably won't have videos of those, but eventually there'll be lots more videos on the channel of closings. Appreciate you guys watching this. I know probably a lot of it went over your head and you might not agree with how I do things, but at the end of the day, it's just how we close pools. It's how I've done them. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. We posted another video last year and a lot of keyboard warriors were telling me that it was not done the right way, or they would have done it whatever. We've been doing these pools for a lot of these pools that we close. I've been doing for about 8 years now, so I've never had any issues. I've closed, like I said, thousands of pools and never had a single issue ever. So but that's kind of just the things. The only maintenance now over the winter is just checking the water level as it rains and snows and keeping this cover cleaned off, and just adjusting the springs as needed. Other than that, pool's all set for the winter, but there is a little bit of maintenance upkeep in the off season that I'm not going to talk about in this video. But a lot of people think just because it's covered and sitting, you don't need to do anything. I don't know if you just heard that acorn fall, but as acorns and leaves start falling off these trees, you do got to keep the leaves off these covers. The leaves will break down, create algae underneath the pool. You got to get water level drained down as it rains, and check these springs from time to time, make sure they're not popping off or need adjustment. So that's it. I'm gonna pack my tools up, and I'm gonna help the guys do the rest of the ones that we're gonna do today. So appreciate you guys watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, I will try my best to keep them coming. If you want to dig back through the channel, there's quite a few videos from years past of closings or other situations. I think the only one I haven't done is an above ground pool closing. You'll find on the channel there's another very similar in-ground pool like this one. There's a, what the heck was that? A bee. There's a gunite pool, pretty sophisticated one with a hot tub that's connected to the pool system. I think there's another closing. I don't know, there's quite a few of them on there. So, But there's also opening videos. I did an opening very similar to this pool over the spring, showing how to open it. I did that myself. So I'll also try to maybe show, might have the opportunity today, we'll see, maybe show how we do it as a team. Not that it matters to you doing it yourself, but just to show how we can do these, you know, systematized as a process and how fast we can do them. It's kind of very regimented process where everybody has their own job, you know, with someone prepping the pool, someone doing the anchor, someone doing the ladder, someone working on the filter, you know, all that stuff. Like I said, if I was not by myself, this would have been a 15-minute closing, no problem. But we'll see. So I'm gonna head out. I gotta go 3 houses down to the next one, and we'll maybe show you guys another pool from today at a separate video. So thanks for watching, appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe. I know I don't post all the time. We're a very busy company during the season, but you know, we do snow plowing in the winter, and we, you know, post from time to time during the off season, you know, in the summer. So check out our videos, and we appreciate it. So thanks. I'll see you on the next one.